Do humans have difficulty thinking in exponentials? I think it's pretty simple. I think the simple answer is just that our brains are designed to think, operate, and plan for the future in terms of linear units. Like right now it's spring. It's very nice that flowers are coming out and everything. But when it's fall and you're trying to plan for the winter, whether you're a squirrel burying nuts or you're a human, putting corn in your stockpiles for the winter, basically you're planning a linear amount of food for a linear number of days and a fixed rate. So if you think in terms of distance, like how far does it take to go to a certain place, you're thinking in terms of steps or paces. If we're thinking like thousands of years ago, and today it's the same thing, except we think of it in terms of miles and kilometers. So when it comes to distance, when it comes to time, when it comes to energy, like how many meals do we need, no matter what kind of society we've had, our brains are oriented and wired in thinking of ways that are linear. And so I think fundamentally the nature of technological growth, among other things that are exponential, are very difficult for our brains to wrap our head around. I think one example being the pandemic in 2020. Obviously, there's controversy about how it was handled and everything. But one of the reasons it was so immediate and so fast, because it's the same thing with a disease. A disease can float around for months or years with virtually nobody having seen it, nobody have experienced it, because just doubling, but it's such a small amount that it's a small percentage of the general population. And then all of a sudden, it's like everyone is getting a disease and everyone's talking about it, because it's the same thing in virology, where you just have a doubling or exponential population, and slowly then suddenly is the term. So I think whether we're talking about the rate at which diseases spread, it's hard for human brains to understand. I think we're talking about the adoption of new technologies. I think that's hard to understand. I think if we're talking in terms of total amount of prosperity, I think it's difficult for us to comprehend, and other things too. But those are just some examples. I think fundamentally it just comes down to that our brains are not designed to understand it.
Opti.
Well,
This
100%.
is
I
your
mean,
opportunity.
look, this is where
You're not confined by the live
no,
show.
look, I always like to I say it all the time as a joke. I am left side of the right side of the bell curve, so I'm smart enough to understand what Luke says, but I also do my best to break it down in just normal examples so that people understand exactly what's going on. And my favorite thing to do in regards to exponentials and linear is literally it's this thought experiment. And first time I heard this, it really blew my mind. And it's like the difference between millions, billions, and trillions. And I know you guys have seen the visual out there of like $1 million versus $1 billion versus $1 trillion, and like compared to the Empire State Building. But my favorite one right here is like, all right, the difference between million, billions, and trillions. Let's do this one with seconds. 1 million seconds is about 11 and a half days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. And 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years. It's like your brain is not supposed to comprehend this stuff. Big numbers are hard. And this is why the average person gets so confused. And especially considering what we're seeing right now, the Fed, central banks out there printing trillions of dollars. We're in what, like $32 trillion debts? It's like, we're never going to pay this stuff back. And you try to explain this to anyone out there, and it's just like a number. It's just such a big number that people don't understand this. They can't wrap their head around this. And it really reminds me, again, I have, since I am usually just the producer here, I'm able to pull everything up. It really reminds me of the Bitcoin price and the difference between Bitcoin on a linear scale and a log scale. And I always do the same thing where, you do the same thing. It's like, hey guys, this is the Bitcoin all-time high. This is the 27 all-time high. And this is the 2013 all-time high. And you can't really grasp the ideas of big numbers and exponential moves because your brain is just not designed to understand this stuff.
I hope that you're enjoying this video, and I hope that after this video that you begin taking self-custody of your Bitcoin, as that is extremely important. And that also includes keeping very good care of your seed phrase and not just writing it on a piece of paper. So I encourage you to check out this video's sponsor, Stampseed. Say goodbye to storing your seed phrase on paper and electronic devices, right? With Stampseed's DIY toolkit, it's a revolutionary way for you to secure your seed words on a titanium plate, not just a piece of paper. With professional metal stamping tools, you can easily hammer your seed words into a commercial-grade titanium. They've been doing this for 13. They've been doing titanium for 13 years now. It's fire-resistant up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's off paper. It's completely secure for you to keep your seed words on. Again, fire-resistant, crush-proof, non-corrosive, and immune to the passage of time, unlike paper. Each letter is deeply impressed into a solid plate, not just the dots like other competing plates. So it's guaranteed to not lose pieces or have varying materials. So secure your hardware wallet with a titanium stamped seed and safeguard your Bitcoin for generations to come. So thanks. Let's get back to the video.
You know, the way we go through life is linear. You go 1 day, you know, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. And then the next thing you know, it's years down the line. And it's kind of like the basic human psychology phenomenon of like, if you look at yourself in the mirror every day, you don't see a change. But if you look at yourself in the mirror from, you know, 2 years to 3 years, you're like, oh, wow, I am getting so old and I'm changing so much. And it's kind of back to this whole idea of like slow progressions. They don't really register on the human psychology and the human brain. But when you start spreading things down the line, you're like, oh my goodness, things change so incredibly rapidly. And it's back to another meme. You know, again, I speak in memes. Everything I do is I speak in memes. What's the saying? You overestimate what you can do in 2 years and you underestimate what you can do in 10 years. And again, it's just kind of like human brains aren't really meant to understand exponentials. We're just so used to linears that when you encounter them in your real life, it really messes up everything about the way that you think about the world because it's so counterintuitive. You're just like, wait, oh, everything I know is wrong. Wait, maybe I don't know as much as I know. And again, back to memes. What's the first thing in The Big Short? The Mark Twain tweet or comment? It's not what you know that messes you up, or it's not what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you know that really ain't. And this is like how humans work. Our brain is not designed to understand every variable in the world. You're really like you really work on a very lack of detail and information, and then you make huge assumptions off of this. And then when you're faced with the data, you're like, oh wait, I was so wrong. Like, how did I get it so wrong? It's just like that's just how your brain works. And it reminds me of like movies and storytelling. You know, like the best storytellers don't give you all the answers. They don't tell you the full story. It's your brain that fills in all the process. And like, this is where we are. It's all just the greatest story ever told. And hey, numbers are really hard. And math's hard for me too. I just understand this phenomenon. Like I know that I know nothing.
I'm going to stick by what I said in the very beginning of the show. Yeah. See, I stick to what I said about Opti. I don't think you're on the left side of the bell curve, brother.
No, left side of the right side of the bell curve.
Oh, okay. Okay.